everybody. My name is Jonah, and I want to talk about my experience with TTP. So right now, I'm a college senior, and so as a result, I was looking at the deferred MBA programs, which are basically you apply when you're a college senior, and they usually let you defer for between 2 and 5 years, with a few exceptions. Now, the way these specific programs work is that there's actually a higher emphasis placed on the GMAT and your GPA because you don't have full-time work experience yet. So I knew going in forward that any school that I really had a hope of applying to, I really wanted to try and get above their full-time median GPA, GMAT and GPA. But it's much easier, obviously, to change your GMAT than your GPA. And it's obviously very important for scholarships. And so I knew going forward that I really needed to have a service and put as much effort into that as possible. I'm a double major in computer science and business, and I had to do my GMAT prep in addition to classes. Which was very challenging, but ultimately I thought it was a bit easier than probably what I would have to do full-time work experience. So if anybody's curious about, if you're a student, if you're a senior, or even younger than that, should I do the GMAT now or do it later? I think doing it now is much more helpful. The studies I've seen say that once you're in a student and you go outside of college, you kind of lose that student mode. So I definitely recommend doing it now if you have the option. But obviously, people take it outside of college and still have great scores. My very first mock exam was last semester. I took it in the library, not under ideal conditions, and I scored a 540. I think my quant was like 25 or something. It was horrible. Or my verbal was 25 or something. And I knew that probably wasn't my true score, but I was really swamped with that semester. And so I decided to push all of my prep to this one. And so early February comes around. I'm like, let's do this prep. Application is due in April. And in reality, I really should have given myself more time, but that's kind of how it kind of went down. I took the practice exam. You get 2 free ones on mba.org, I think. And I ended up scoring a 600. I think Quant and Verbal were both 36, which obviously is an improvement over 540, but it's still not anywhere close where it needs to be. My final score that I took about a month and a half ago, I ended up getting a 730, Quant 47, and Verbal 44. So I'm obviously very happy with the improvement. I started doing GMAT preparation pretty much right after that first 600. And I ended up I bought the OG book, I actually have it right here. I bought this thing. And it has a lot of great questions, but I was kind of in the position where, okay, I got this question wrong, but it's just that I didn't know the formula for an area of a trapezoid. So I knew I needed something comprehensive to teach me, and that the OG book just was not cutting it. So I went on Reddit and I found kind of reviews for TTP and how, acclaimed it is, how many people said it improved their score dramatically. But most of all, I was really impressed that it was basically a total rework of everything you thought you knew about math, about English, grammar, etc. And so I was very I flocked to that, and I did the $1 trial for a week, which I would highly recommend doing. I think in that week period, you'll be able to tell everything you need in terms of whether you want TTP or not. So I ended up buying it after the trial period, and I used it for 2 months. Wherein I studied for 3 hours per day on average. They have an analytics page, probably around 170 in total. I would say this is on the low side. Most people I've talked to / what I would recommend is probably study for much longer and much more hours. I'd say probably to finish it all properly and really get the completely best score you could get, probably would set you back at least 250 hours, and probably over 3 months is more realistic. I knew the applications were due in April, so I didn't have that time. And so I needed to go very, very quickly. I was doing sometimes 150 problems in a day, and I would not recommend this. The curriculum, you'll see if you get it, it lays out every single thing you need to do. Timing wise, it wants you to take practice tests a week apart. I could not do that. I ended up getting a lot of value from the course, but I have no doubt that I could even get more value if I had the time and the resources to really give kind of the course what it deserves. So I used it for about a month and a half, and it was incredibly helpful. They have a full set of pretty much everything you could possibly know on the GMAT. I chose the expert track, which is getting an ideal score of a 700 to a 730. There is an expert plus track, but considering timing wise, I thought it wasn't really of use to go on that track. But from what I know, it's not a massive difference. It's a few more lessons, but the problems are all still the same. And honestly, if you did the entire course the way it's intended, I don't really see how you could get less than a 680. It's a very comprehensive course. An example I would give was there's a whole, lesson on standard deviation, which is, it's a concept in math. Not everybody remembers it. And there was a whole web page on one of their kind of course saying what happens to the standard deviation when it's added or subtracted versus multiplied and divided. And lo and behold, right when I took the test, there was an exact question. The standard deviation is D. The new set is D plus 5, and then added 5 to everything. And I solved the problem in maybe 10 seconds. And I just saved myself a minute 40 seconds or a minute 50 seconds I can bank for another problem that is hard that I have challenges with. And that's really the beauty of TTP, is that it's not a math class or it's not kind of a GRE clone. It's specifically for the GMAT. The team put an extreme amount of effort, and it's everything you see there could be in the GMAT in the most direct way possible. They spend zero time talking about anything else that could not be on the GMAT. Now, the result of this is that it's a massive course, and everybody who's taken it will acknowledge that. But that's only because it's by design, because it's saying this is the course that teaches you everything you need to know. There is no gaps in your knowledge from this course. And it's very impressive, and I was very happy with it. An underrated aspect I don't hear a lot of people talk about is the mindfulness. So the way it works is obviously you have the course, you have the math, verbal, kind of you alternate between them, and then practice tests at the end. But something people don't talk about is there's actually daily videos and a daily kind of reading about mindfulness and test taking exercises you can do. I really took advantage of this, and I really think that probably 20 to 40 points of your final score will be as a result of test anxiety or preparedness. I really used the breathing techniques Scott talked about. I talked about what to eat on test day, how to stay calm, how to keep your morale up. There's a ton of stuff in there. I would highly recommend it. I think it really gets the most out of you. And I really think without it, I would have scored probably 20 or 30 points less. It really helps you kind of stay calm and focused. And it's the idea of preparing yourself for as much you need on test day. Now, I think my advice obviously is take more time with it. I think TTP, I had my biggest jump in verbal. I went from a 36 to a 44. I think it's just doing more problems. I think I had that potential in me, and I think it was just drilling that in. I think that's a real strength of TTP. And I think that, just looking at my rest of the thing I wanted to say, using a whiteboard from the start, using their analytics very extensively is very helpful. They give you accuracy, and I knew exactly what types of problems I needed to work on more. I took a practice test right before my exam. I got a 700, and I knew it's this, this, and this. These are the things that I need to work on, and it was incredibly powerful because you can just hone in on it. Okay, I'm fine with this. Maybe I need more help with functions and sequences. Maybe I need more help with geometry. That's really important. Ultimately, I think TTP is for very high achievers or massive score improvers. I think that's where you get the most value of it. The team is incredibly responsive to feedback and to kind of problems. I made no shortage of them, and they were always responsive within an hour or two. The product is to get you the best score you can, and I think it did that very well for me, and I'm incredibly satisfied with it.